Hello, this is Hope Rosky with Business, Arts, and Events. Well, today we're going to talk about business, and not just about business, about buying or selling a business. And today we have Rod Holt here, who is a business broker who's going to be here to talk to us about that today. Rod, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Hope. I appreciate it.
I am so glad you're here because this is, people think about, well, buying and selling a house, but a business is a completely different perspective. How did you get into what I would call business brokering?
Long story.
Okay.
First of all, I became a CPA, and I was doing that, and my wife had a brain injury.
Oh.
And her demands and needs didn't match up with the time demands of being a CPA. So I started looking for something different to do, and I became a real estate broker and a business broker.
Wow, that's okay. Now, even before that I found fascinating, because I was reading up on you, that you used to work in the meat industry as well.
When I was in the 8th grade, my father bought a meat market, and I was told to show up on Saturday night at 6 o'clock to clean the meat market. So from every Saturday night that I could remember until I was late in college and married, I was still cleaning a meat market on Saturday night. But I learned to cut meat in the process.
Right, but you also understood what it took to run a business too, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So with that, you started basically having that business experience and understanding what it means to have a business from 8th grade, which is quite impressive. So let's talk a little bit about somebody who's looking to buy a business. What do they need to look for? What tips would you give?
Well, typically you want a business that has adequate cash flow. Not necessarily net profit, but cash flow built into it that will allow you to make a living, allows you to pay your taxes, allows you to pay your debt, and allows you to expand your business if you need to. And so when you look for that, you want something that you're familiar with, or at least you would understand enough to know how to make proper decisions for operating the business. You want something that sits in your ability to purchase. So, some people can buy very expensive businesses, $5-6 million.
Sure.
But some can only buy maybe $500,000, $250,000 to $500,000. So you got to figure out what you can do, and then you go out and look for it.
So just like in buying a home, you have to get pre-qualified. Same thing for business?
Absolutely. You demonstrate your sincerity in buying a business if you come to the table prepared. And when you come to the table prepared, you know how much money you got in the bank to put down on it. You know what the banker or the lender will give to you on a certain basis and what the parameters are of that loan.
Sure.
And at the same time, you've got an idea of what will truly interest you and keep your enthusiasm for running the business for a long period of time.
So first step is to get pre-qualified.
Yep.
Okay, once you're pre-qualified, find you who's going to help them find the best business that will suit them, that already has a good cash flow. So you know that a business that steps in will be bringing similar, if not more, of a cash flow to their business so they can be successful.
Correct.
So then let's go to the flip side of it, which is selling a business. What does somebody need to do to get prepared for making that sale successful on that end?
Excellent question. People think that selling a business is a simple process. It's extremely complex, and it's demanding on the seller. Okay, just to kind of reiterate, the process is, okay, you find a business that you want, the buyer does, he makes an offer, the seller accepts it, and from that point forward, work begins. Because the buyer is going to want to have a time of due diligence where he can prove what is in the business.
Ah, okay, so that's where it's easy to do the sale, but then it's the aftermath for the seller.
You
That's
bet.
where they get to work.
I'm currently involved in a sale right now that has stretched from April and will probably go till first part of November before it's sold. And there's so many different dimensions of it. I mean, there's business property that's personal property, there's real property, and you have to value that properly, and those are negotiable things. You have a bulk sales transfer that has to take place with the personal property. So when you're looking at selling a business, you got to just analyze it. So come back to your question about what I want to do to sell a business. Well, two things that I always talk to people, because most business people want to minimize their income tax the best that they can.
Of course.
And to minimize income tax, you have to minimize your income.
Mm-hmm.
And you do things to do that. However, if you minimize it so greatly that you don't have a lot of profit, but you know there's some cash flow in it, you're not going to find a banker who's going to lend to you. They want to see your tax return and be able to take assurance that what you claim your business is doing is indeed what it's doing. And so the conflict is, I might be able to minimize my taxes, but I'm going to minimize the value of my business by doing that.
Wow. I mean, that's so much information, and with that, it brings your years of experience. So what would you say, how many years of experience have you put into this?
Well, I was a CPA, I've done audits, and I've helped people acquire businesses as a CPA.
Sure.
So I had some experience in it from there, but not from totally the marketing standpoint. So 30 years.
That's great. So when you broker, are you representing both, or do you sometimes have one who's just like in another sales transaction with homes, you sometimes will have somebody representing the buyer and the seller, or do you typically do both?
Well, here's when you start dealing with a representative for a buyer, and I'm representing the seller, you got to find out the experience of the real estate agent involved in business.
Sure.
Because it's complex. It's not just like selling a house. Selling a house has lots of dimensions to it, but selling a business has even more. And what has been my experience and the experience of the firm that I'm with is that people who have not had business brokerage background are more of a liability in the sale than they are an asset.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And so our best thing is to give them a referral fee and help to where we can represent both sides on it.
Absolutely.
To bring people together. And California law has requirements for when you represent both sides.
Sure.
I can't disclose certain things to the buyer about the seller, and I can't disclose certain things to the seller
You're
about
kind
the
of like the middle of the Oreo, or the knot in the middle
Knot
of the
in
rope.
There you go. There you go. You got it.
So, one of the things is, like, people are always interested in being able to, like, reach out and contact. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Give me a call.
And what can you give the viewers the number, please?
559-859-5759.
And
I also have an email if you want to do that.
sure, absolutely.
And that is rholtandco@gmail.com. So it's rholtandco@gmail.com.
Okay, so basically,
I also need to throw into this
Yes.
that I'm also the business broker for a large I'm the broker of record for a franchise of a large international brokerage company.
right.
Okay, so Transworld is the brokerage company. I'm the broker of record for Hearthstone, and we represent and have the territory from Sacramento to Bakersfield.
Okay.
So that's who I primarily represent. So if you want to find me on Transworld, you can.
Okay, well that's good to know. I think that's important for the viewers to know. Are there any other tips that you would like to leave the viewers with before we part?
Selling your business is like painting the house. Okay? You don't just go out and put paint on it. Okay? You gotta clean it up. You gotta make sure that all the wood is good solid wood and there's no dry rot and there's no problems or whatever. You've got to take time to prepare for the sale. Or for the paint. I mean,
yes.
You got to take time to prepare for the paint. That's what you're doing in selling a business. You need strong financial statements.
Sure.
If you want top dollar for your business, you got to be able to demonstrate in an integrity way that the value of the business exists, and that starts with strong financial statements. And your tax returns need to be able to tie back to the financial statements. So that's an integral part. Another part is having strong staff. People want to come in and they want to buy. I mean, there are many buyers. There's types of buyers. There's some that come in and they want to build a business and they want to manage it, but they don't want to operate it. And so many times they're looking for operators that they can manage. So that's one type of buyer. Then there's the other type of buyer that says, I want to be on my own and I want to do my own thing, and they want to operate their business. So you got to figure out where you want to be in that process, but strong financial statements is good. Having a strong employee staff is good. Having good systems that exist is good. So those are the things that add value to your business.
Well, I thank you so much for coming onto the show. I could tell you I have received an education today, one that I had no idea. I mean, I understand buying and selling homes, but business, that's a completely different dynamic, and it's really important for the viewers who do have a business, who are thinking about selling or possibly potentially buying a business, to be educated. And Rod, you do a great job in doing it. I thank you so much for coming onto the show. This is Hope Rosky with Business, Arts, and Events.